How we doing, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we've got a couple of jobs lined up for today which we're going to bring you along on. So let's crack on with the first one, which is Mercedes GLA. So this Mercedes GLA is experiencing a couple of warning light, one warning light on the dash. It has got the SRS. You can see we've got a front right, malfunction, consult workshop. So we've got an airbag warning light on the dash, which we're going to diagnose for the customer today. So what we've done is we've plugged in the Topdon Phoenix Plus just so we can be kept out of the wind. It's very windy today. And we're going to do a health scan on the SRS module, just because this one doesn't have high speed scans. So we'll come back to you once that scan is done. So we're just going to go into automatically search. Click yes. Ignition is switched on, I believe. Hopefully I've left it on the ignition position. So we'll just go down, go into restraint system, click OK on that as well. And we'll go into read fault code, and we've got a B000213, the squib for the driver airbag stage 2 has a malfunction, there is an open circuit. We've also got a B000113, the squib for the driver's airbag stage 1 has a malfunction. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into live data and see if it will give us any resistance values for the airbag components, and that will give us we obviously already know that we've got a open circuit fault code, but we'll see what the resistance values are and we'll take it from there. So if we go into data stream, it will be on ignition circuits. So there's quite a lot here. So we're looking for the driver's airbag squib 1, 2, and we'll just compare it with something on here. The resistance of the component left window squib. We'll just click on that. So you can see that the driver's airbag stage 1 is currently sitting at 10 ohms. So sorry, these two here are currently sitting at 10 ohms, which is obviously too high, and the value that we're looking for is around about the 2 ohm sort of stage, which is typical of airbag resistances. So what we're going to do is we're going to get access into that squib and find out what wires are for the driver's airbag, and we're going to put a resistance value in there from our decade box, see if that changes on the live data. If it changes on the live data, it should clear the fault code. If that's the case, then we know that we need an airbag squib. So we have managed to get the airbag out. Pretty simple, you've just got two holes down the side there. Push a screwdriver across those levers. I'm not going to show how to remove an airbag, but that's how you do it. Obviously you want to make sure you've got all the battery disconnected and all the relevant sort of safety stuff happening. So instead of digging out the decade box, we've just got two resistors here, run about 2.2 ohms, and we're just going to insert them. In fact, what might be easier, we'll just insert them here. So we've just got them inserted there. Obviously we know it's likely going to be a squib issue, but just to rule the airbag itself out, and you can see we've got no change in resistance, so we need to revert back to the actual squib side itself. So we'll find the wiring loom for that and see if that changes. So I'm back at this one now. I ended up having a look at another customer's car, but I've just dug up the diagram for the airbag squib stage 1, stage 2. So right here is your steering column module, that's A23, and then the very top one that's highlighted in blue, that's your driver's airbag. So we've managed to get our arms in and just unplug the connector that plugs into the steering column module, and we're just going to do our resistance bypasses there to see if the fault codes will go back to stored. So this is the setup that we've got. Now we've got the Topdon. We're just going to go into the resistance values that we need, so we'll just type in drivers, and what we're looking for is component drivers airbag squib 1 and drivers airbag squib 2. So we'll click OK, and you can see our resistance values at the minute. So I'm just going to get these probes put in. So they're just in the connector at the minute. And you can see we have got right now a fluctuating resistance value. But if we switch ignition on, we'll go into our fault codes. You can see that we must be in stage 1, as that is returned to stored. Now if I lift off the decade box and give it maybe 30 seconds, you can not even 30 seconds, you can see it's went back to current and stored. So it must be looking for a resistance value around about that range. If we just connect our decade box back in the circuit, going to read fault code, you can see it's went back to stored again. So we'll just do the same test on the other 2 airbag wires just to make sure everything's alright. But yep, that is our test for today. We might have another one. A job's just come in cancelled, so we'll need to get a steering column module priced up for this. But before we do that, we'll just check the other two airbag wires. Okay, so we are now plugged into stage 2, which is the green and purple on that connector there. It's a wee bit bright, but hopefully you can see it. Yep, so we're probed into those 2 pins on that connector, and you can hopefully see we've got a reading there, and the fault code the fault code should be stored. Yep, so stage 2 is now stored. I dare say if we were to put another resistance in there, we'd be able to clear the fault codes completely off the dash, but this is just a diagnosis. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a price for a squib on this little GLA, and this will probably be in one of our future videos of a repair. So just really depends whether the customer accepts our quote for replacing it or not. Usually they do, so we'll need to get that priced up from Merck, and we'll take it from there. But we'll move on to the next one, which will either be an EGR valve on a Tucson or possibly the particulate matter sensor on the Canter that we done a couple of videos back. So let's do that. So we've arrived at our next job, which is a 2017 Hyundai Tucson. Now we're replacing an EGR valve on this car, and the reason we're replacing it is because it's pulling down the 5V reference circuit. Now when it does that, it sends all the other parts on the engine a wee bit loopy. Another one that can cause it is the swirl flap actuator, which I'll show you here. Now these are quite common for failing as well, and one thing you'll notice is the turbo actuator will start doing funny things, going up and down on its own. But in this case the EGR valve itself is pulling down the 5V ref. We didn't film the steps to sort of diagnose that, unfortunately, but one way of testing it is finding your 5V reference and basically just back probing the circuit itself, and you'll notice if one of the sensors is pulled it down already, you can unplug an individual sensor and the 5V reference should climb back up. But you can see we've managed to strip the majority of this. This isn't the easiest EGR valve to strip. it's very expensive. This was £520, Hyundai part only. Apparently the aftermarket options are all on back order, or you can't get them. Pretty much the same thing. But you've got the bolts at the back that go into the EGR cooler. That's why you need to take out this full assembly here. It's just kind of loose in my hand. But you've got 3 bolts at the back, plus another 2 bolts that go into the EGR pipe. You've also got a couple of bolts down here, and the rest of it's just coolant lines, so you just need to be careful. There's a lot of sort of vacuum lines and all that sort of stuff that you can easily break. So what I'm going to do is just get this out of the car and just show you me swapping it over. So you can see all we've got holding this EGR valve onto the cooler is a ring of, let me see what size it is. So that is T40. You've just got all these bolts to take out, put the new one back on with new gaskets. One thing I will say is the £521 EGR valve does not come with new gaskets, so make sure you get them. So that is our new EGR valve ready to get put in place, back where it belongs, and we'll get everything all bolted up, and the next time you see me, this will all be back together. So that's the rest of this Hyundai built back up, and when you see it, when it's all built back up, it looks like a massive job to do this EGR valve. It is a pretty big job just for an EGR, with the stuff and that you need to take off, but I'll just show you. You actually can barely just see the EGR once everything's built. So if you look here, you can see the EGR valve, the shiny bit down there, that's where it sits. So it is a bit of a job to get into that, but just think of the actual cost if you've got one of these. The EGR valve itself is £519.25. I've just checked the paperwork here. So the actual EGR valve is just shy, well, just over 500 quid. Now, if you take into account labour to remove that, you're probably talking 2 hours roughly. And then you've got obviously the diagnosis before that, so you're not far away from a really expensive bill just to do an EGR valve. Now the last one I done was on the same engine, but it was on a Kia Karen, or a Kia Sarin, or whatever the hell it is, I don't know how to pronounce it. That one was a lot more tucked away. This engine's seems to have a lot more space because it's a bigger car, but that's EGR valve in. We'll get it programmed in with the Topdon. We'll not show that on camera, but I hope this kind of has been worth a video. We've obviously not done a diagnosis side of it, but that's the issue with the EGR valve, was it was pulling down the 5V reference. So now that we've done that, we're going to move on to the Mitsubishi Canter. Now this one was on maybe 2 videos ago for a particulate matter sensor. The customer, well, we priced it up, gave the customer a quote. The actual sensor itself was £1,100 plus VAT, which is extortionate. Now he's managed to source a correct part number for it, and I think it was around about 400-500 quid online. So we're going to go back and fit that, and fingers crossed there isn't any other faults with it, but we'll see you there. Okay, so we've just returned back to this Mitsubishi Canter, and we are going to get the particulate matter sensor fitted. So the customer bought this part. It is a Mitsubishi box. You can see that's the part number there if anybody's interested. And the part itself does look legit. So you can see, I don't know if you'll be able to see there, but it's got a Bosch number on it. So we'll see. This part was around about £400, so still expensive. So let's get the X-Link plugged in, see what the fault codes are. I always like to do a scan before fitting a part, just because this last time I was here, probably maybe 2 weeks ago, just in case anything else has came up I can let the customer know about. So we'll just get our new sensor plugged in before taking out the exhaust, because you can never be too sure. So we'll just hopefully clip that in. Does it go that way? Yep, helps if you plug it in the right way. Oh, can I do this with one hand? So now I've climbed underneath so I can get two hands on it. Let's try. Oh, yep. So it does fit, so that's a good thing. Now we'll just go back and see if a fault code is either going to be able to be cleared or if it's went to passive. So I'll just spin these around. So ignition is on, you can see the fault code's current at the minute because I've not refreshed the page. So we'll give it time, let's go back, it still says it's current. No diagnostic trouble code present. So that PM sensor seems to have worked. So what we'll do is just make sure it's out of gear. We'll just make sure we've not got any warning lights, engine management lights on the dash still. Perfect. Go back into read DTC and you can see I've got no diagnostic trouble code. So now we know that that PM sensor's definitely worked. Obviously we knew that it would fix the issue, but we were unsure with the sensor that he bought because it was off eBay. Sometimes you can get fake stuff kicking about. So it seems to have done the trick on this occasion, so we're going to get the old sensor out of the exhaust. Hopefully that comes out. Hopefully it doesn't need any heating. Fingers crossed it doesn't strip the threads out of the tailpipe. But let's do that, get the sensor all bolted in, and that'll be us good to go. Let's get a wee bit of lubricant spray on there. Okay, so now what we've got to do is hope for the best that this thread does not strip, so we're just going to give it a little punch with a spanner there. You can't ask for any more than that. Perfect. So we'll get a new one installed, put some paste in there so it doesn't seize up like everyone was moaning at me the last time on the other video. We'll get some paste in there, get it all mounted up, and that'll be us. So that is our sensor fitted in. We just need to switch it back on, turn the computer on, and make sure we've not got an engine management light on first thing. So we'll go into read DTC. Right, we've not got any diagnostic trouble codes. I'll just spin these around. So if we go into read DTC, you can see we've got no diagnostic trouble codes present. But you can see there, got no warning lights on the dash. The engine management light was on before. Going to read DTC, got no trouble codes. So we'll call that a fix. So guys, that's us done in this video. We hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. As always, like, share and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.